I'm Robert Longhurst, and I am consultant optometrist at Phoenix Hospital, and I practice at 25 Harley Street in London. So vision problems are very common from all sorts of head injuries, really, even really minor ones like whiplash. Research would suggest that up to 90% of cases of all these types of head injuries can actually cause problems with the eyes or with the vision. So double vision is probably the most commonly reported symptom of a brain injury. And second to that, probably some sort of visual field loss. So for example, after a stroke on the right-hand side would tend to cause problems with the visual field on the left-hand side and vice versa. Other commonly reported problems are issues with reading. People often skip lines or skip words as they read. There's a problem with the teaming of the two eyes. Also frequent migraines that are unusual, and just general problems focusing, perhaps going from distance to near, just that the eyes just aren't working together properly, really, and so that can cause an issue for some people. So some vision problems happen immediately after a brain injury. Some actually take a while to develop, and that can happen over weeks or even over several months. So that's why it's important that if you have a vision injury, a brain injury, you should see someone straight away to make sure that there aren't any problems that could manifest later on. However, probably most issues after a brain injury would resolve themselves after a couple of weeks. It's the ones that say last after a couple of months or more that really need to be seen in clinic so we can assess what's going on and hopefully offer some form of a treatment. So absolutely. So you can get all sorts of vision problems after a head injury. They say something like 40 to 50% of the brain is responsible for the eyes and for vision. So any kind of a brain injury can cause issues with the eyes, with the vision. So things like stroke, for example, can have a very significant impact on the vision. Vascular issues, so someone who is diabetic may have a bleed somewhere in the brain, and that can cause problems. Even things like tumors can press on say one of the cranial nerves. That can cause problems with the eye movements and the eye muscles, and that can cause things like double vision. It's surprisingly common, although not a lot of people have heard of it. And really, it's a disconnect between the visual processing of the central part of your vision and the peripheral part of your vision. So it's normally where there's an over-focalization really on the central vision, that the peripheral vision information is meant to kind of ground it. But if the body is kind of over-focusing on the central part of the vision, you can get all sorts of problems with spatial awareness. So you can find people have issues with reading or with catching balls. So obviously it is important in things like sport. Also related to that is something called visual midline shift, which is where someone's perception of center is actually shifted to one side. So they might find that they're bumping into things all on the same side, or they're pouring drinks, missing, and things like that. It's surprisingly common.